Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Good evening and welcome to PCKC TV. My name's John Kreisbergs. It's Tuesday night, which means it's another opportunity to talk comics, which is always a lot of fun when I've got these two gentlemen with me. I get to welcome back to the PCKC TV virtual stage Planet Motion CEO and Planet Comicon Kansas City owner Christopher Jackson and Elite Comics owner William Binderup. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Greetings.
Got my little guy with me tonight.
Nice to see you folks.
Yeah. Excellent. So William, you got to do the super villain move, right?
Expect you to die, Mr. Bond.
There it is. There it is. The lighting is just right there too, as well. So.
I got the villain lighting. I need to get one of those halo lights like you guys got.
Well, I mean, if you just follow my beauty podcast, I would tell you all the particulars of the particular lights that I have.
I have been following. Don't you see my smoky eyeshadow?
I did. You did have the smoky eye this time. But speaking of lighting, too, Mr. Jackson, you got to get some. Proper lighting for those posters, man.
I was traveling too much this week. No, I wasn't.
Yeah. It's traffic can be really difficult from the living room to the front door, to the living room, to the front door. It's the life we lead.
I'm like 3 blocks from Home Depot. I couldn't get that far this week.
I actually saw a traffic jam on my way home tonight. I was like, oh, traffic jams. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
That was a thing.
Isn't that cute, a traffic jam?
Yeah.
Usually, you have to watch your speed. I mean, even now, because so many people are working from home, there's no other cars to gauge by. You look down, you're like, oh, I'm going 90.
Yeah, I did notice that a couple of times going back into Kansas City. It's been a little odd on that front for sure. So, Chris, always have to ask if there's anything new this week with you coming in packages and brown wrappers and FedEx labeled boxes.
Let's see what I can find today. I dug through and I found some things that are really vintage. I found a set of the Marvel 1967 top stickers.
Wow.
It's a 55 sticker set. Trying to raise them up and down here. There we go.
Those are awesome.
That's
man.
9 of them. Some more. These are really, really fun. And these have the distinction of being my original ones from when I was a kid.
So those are actually yours.
Yeah, these are the ones from when I was a kid. So there's a lot of stuff I don't have anymore. I've got some of my original Amazing Spider-Mans and things. But for some reason, I had these stickers. They're a lot of fun.
Well,
they're actually a little tough. They're readily available.
But didn't stick them on anything.
Yeah. As
a kid, I had them on things. I remember sticking them on things. So remember, it was like it's like trading cards now. It was a lottery. It was not a lottery. It was gambling. You bought a pack and it had however many stickers.
Yeah, so if you had like 12 Hulks, 2 of them would end up on your bedroom wall, right?
So you had to keep buying them until you had a set. So, yeah.
That's
these
are
actually
old
really
art
fun.
on those too.
So they're actually very hard to find in nice shape because stickers do that. Here's the last one that's kind of fun.
Human Torch.
Yeah,
Don't call me a slob.
Then I have this picture. There's these that I showed you a little earlier, John.
Oh yeah, let me hang on. Let me take a.
These are this is a Marx license plate, Marx company,
like bicycle license plates,
right? Like a bicycle license plate from 1966.
All right, so I totally misjudged that when you sent me that photo earlier because I was thinking license plate, car license plate. Okay.
No, these are like 2x4. something, give or take.
Here, let me see if I
got
can.
the Captain America. There we go. Captain America and the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
These are not my originals. I have my original Spider-Man around here somewhere, but I can't find it. So I bought another one on eBay a while back. So
you're going to be the envy of all the other kids on the block.
Yeah, they're all jealous that they don't have a Spider-Man license plate.
Yeah, they're all putting those on their bicycles.
Several years ago, I went to a house in Overland Park. Somebody called me and had some stuff to sell, and she had 2 of these Captain America license plates in this for whatever reason. I bought them. Then, being I sold them. Then I couldn't find my own, so I went and bought another one on eBay for like twice what I sold both the other ones for. So
you need to get the archive organized. We say it every week. You need to get the archive organized. Well, guys, we've kept our guest in the green room long enough.
Sure, we have.
I'm really looking forward to talking to him today. We have artist creator Ryan Kincaid, who's going to be with us right now. And Ryan's a cover artist. He's worked on titles such as Batman, Superman, Vampirella, White Widow, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And basically, you've penciled for everybody under the sun, and probably a lot of people that we haven't heard of even, and people that you can't even disclose, right?
I have. Yeah, I don't think I'm working. I'm working on some stuff I can't disclose, but not for anybody that I haven't worked with that I can't disclose.
There you go.
I have a problem with saying no. I'm getting better at it. But every time I get an email that's like, Ryan, we'd love to put you on this project, I'm like, no. And I magically type yes. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's gonna work. I just did it yesterday at my son's baseball game. I got an email about working on a project. Mandy, Dean Eagle, that created the old Playboy.
Oh my
cartoon.
God, I love his stuff.
So they're doing a tribute to him, and they're like, Ryan, we want you on the cover. And me and Shannon, my wife, were just saying how we're saying no to everything right now. And I literally was like, I'm not saying no. That's like, I love Dean. He's awesome. Yes. She just kind of looked at me like, really?
Oh man, he's the best. I got his autograph at a convention. I just bought a $25 book. Can you sign it? And he draws this beautiful original Mandy in the inside cover. There you go.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think I have every one of his books, and some of them have a full figure of Mandy or a face, and every once in a while he'll draw just like a leg. He's like, I got time for a leg. I'm like, okay.
It's so awesome.
I'm looking around because within grabbing distance, I have a Mandy sketch. It's about the size. It's maybe a little bigger than these the Silver Surfer and Iron Man.
Wow.
That I got from him at LA Comicon just a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
so,
I usually, because he's in LA, and that's where I was originally from. So I usually see him and his wife and pick at least his newest thing up every time I see him.
Yeah, he's done amazing work. He really has.
So Ryan,
super duper nice guy.
Yeah,
and always has a gumball machine on his table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, buy a trade gumball.
Yeah,
he came to Planet one time, like 4 years ago. William, was it 4 or so?
Yeah.
Give or take. And he said later, he goes, Chris, I asked him, how'd you do? He said, well, Chris, I don't know. I sold out of everything on like Saturday afternoon. He said, I didn't realize your show was so big that I should have come prepared.
He did as well as he could if you have nothing left.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
He did as well as he could. He had nothing left. 0.
It's awesome. So Ryan, did I pick up on that? You said you're originally from LA?
Yes, I was born and raised in LA County. And I moved to Overland Park just coming up on 4 years ago.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a change of pace, right?
A lot change of pace. Very much.
Both basically surf cultures, but
right.
Yeah, we both ride the waves.
Yeah.
Everyone hears LA and they think what they see on TV shows. Where I grew up is the Mojave Desert area, the Antelope Valley, which right now is not got a good name. I grew up in Palmdale and Lancaster, which is, is not really good in the news right now. But everyone thinks California, and I'm like, okay, that desert that you see in Iron Man or Iron Man 2 and Rhodey's flying into the Air Force Base? Yeah, that's where I grew up. A whole lot of
yeah.
Did you know Phil Lawrence at all at that point? My con assistant Phil Lawrence? He's from Lancaster originally, so
I found that out afterwards, but I hadn't I knew the name, and I think I ran into him from time to time, but I never actually met him until this past couple of years.
Okay.
Because that's where I grew up, Lancaster.
Yeah, that's where he grew up too, I think.
Yeah. So take me, how did you first get involved in comics? I mean, maybe just even personal interest first, before, and then professional pursuit, and how that worked.
I loved drawing. My brother is a baseball player, and I was the little brother, so I used to get dragged to all of his games, and I hated watching baseball. I would sit there and draw. And then my dad put me into like a little art class when I was probably 10. And they're like, oh, the kid, he can draw cartoons. He does this pretty well. Mm-hmm. I never really took any of it seriously. I just like to draw. So I drew cartoons all the time. It wasn't until my son was born. So, 30 years ago, we went to Long Beach Comicon with just a raggedy portfolio of cartoon work here and there. And my wife threw it to J. Scott Campbell. It was like, you should check out my husband's work. And I'm sitting there like, I know who J. Scott Campbell is. Like, I've admired his work forever. And I just kind of put my head down like, crap.
It probably wasn't scrap. Yeah.
Well, if you look at it now, it's scrap. I think all of us can go back 10 years as an artist and go, what was I thinking? I'll show you my very first published cover. We have it over here. And I look back and I cringe.
Yeah. So he reacts.
If Chris, Scott very well, and he's very nice, and he was very nice to me. he was like, I couldn't tell you the words, but basically he didn't shoot me down in a very mean way. He was like, well, you've got a good start, and I could see you working on some stuff. It was when the next person over, Shannon hands it to Dan Penosian. Mm-hmm. And Dan Penosian, Notorious and Dave Johnson and all those guys. Dan is actually the one that was like, oh, you can do this. You got it. You can draw comics. Come hang out with us next week at the Drink and Draw, Casey's Irish Pub. We'll show you how this works. We'll get you in. And they weren't lying. Like within, I think, 4 or 5 months of hanging out with them, just doing Drink and Draws, they got me doing sketch cards for Marvel and some of the other small, like Fifinity Productions and stuff like that. I think it was Rittenhouse Archives did some of them. And it just kind of snowballed from there. The only thing they told me is like, just don't get stuck doing cards. We'll get you your first job doing cards, but just don't get stuck doing it.
Yeah, the pay rate's like shameful in cards.
$1 or $3 a card or something like that, and you have to do 100 of them within like a month.
Wow,
it's crazy, and it got harder and harder as it went because they were. It went from sketches. If you remember the very first like Marvel Masterpiece when they did the sketch cards that you could find, they were literally like blue line or pencil sketches.
Yeah. Now
they want like full body, full color, like this magnificent piece of artwork on something that big.
Yeah.
And so when was that? When you were first starting to do that work? When was this roughly?
So about 2005 maybe, I think, is when I started doing like the sketch cards.
Yeah.
And the sketch cards got me into doing my first cover. I think my wife grabbed it somewhere. I got was with Fifinity Productions, and they started doing that book, that Zombies versus Cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So that's actually the first cover I ever did that I cringe. We pulled it out of storage.
So your wife's gonna frame it up to keep you humble.
Yeah. Well, somebody was
right there behind your head.
It's gonna get hung on the wall. I'm gonna get it graded as "Don't do this." So one of my friends and fans found it on eBay, and he's like, "Ryan, do you have this?" I was like, "I have one copy somewhere." Mm-hmm. He's like, "I'll buy it from you." I found it on eBay for $200, and I just kind of was like, "Are you kidding me? That's probably the worst thing to ever come out of my hand."
But you progress. You move from cards to covers. And what's that story start to look like? I mean, how does that? I mean, was there a progression to that type of work? Was it?
I kind of got thrown in the fire. It was here. Let's get you on covers, and then it went. You know, you slowly went from this small publishing company to another small publishing company to a bigger one. To I did some interior pinups for Zenoscope. And then it just kind of went from that, because when I went to Marvel and met with the editors there, they're like, well, what interiors have you done? And I just was like, none.
Mm-hmm.
How have you done so many covers in your career with never doing interiors? I was like, I got hired to do covers. Like, I never had to do interiors. So I kind of went backwards.
And everyone's going to hate your guts, because that is not usually how it works.
Right.
Usually they got to labor and labor.
I knew I was going to get shot down. When I went to, what was it, Dallas, I think? I think my first portfolio review was in Dallas. And both of them, again, the editors are really nice.
I thought they were at WonderCon.
No. But with Marvel, I met with Paul. And he was very nice to me, and he's the same thing. He was like, how did you get this far without doing interiors? And how come you're trying out for Marvel and you've never done interiors? And I was like, I'm not expecting you to hire me. I'm expecting you to tell me what I suck at and what I can get better on. It worked, because I ended up doing some covers with DC not too long after that.
Mm-hmm.
I still have not done interiors for any of the big two. I've been doing them for other companies.
Mm-hmm. So it's a different progression, different way, just that your career has kind of turned into that. It's kind of interesting. You know, we were talking to Freddie Williams last week, and Freddie was talking about how he would create these sort of, proof of concepts, when he wanted to push himself into doing more ink wash stuff. He just, he just said, this is what I'm going to do, did the one-off with the proof of concept, and then went and got the gig, which is just crazy,
Well, that's how Mark Brooks did it with his hand coloring with the Copics and the paint and everything. He basically was like, the only guy I think I ever knew to tell Marvel, this is how I'm going to do the cover. Watch, you're going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
And they let him do it, and they're like, yeah, let's do more of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I never wanted to get pigeonholed doing any kind of work. So I kind of have learned from everybody, like, what not to do and what to do. So I think one of the things that's benefited my career on going different routes. Like, I go from a swimsuit pinup cover for Aspen to I drew the interiors for Stabbity Ever After, which is a cartoon bunny wielding a sword wreaking havoc against unicorns.
All right, I'm gonna let one of these guys take it from here, because I need to find that real quick and show people, because I'm sorry, that's not what I didn't have that one lined up specifically, but I know of it.
Yeah. Well, it's either Stabbity Bunny that I did covers for, or Stabbity Ever After, which is the offshoot that I co-did with the creator of Stabbity Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we decided to make Stabbity Bunny a stuffed rabbit that's half Michael Myers, because he doesn't talk. He just kind of tilts his head, pulls a knife out, does whatever he's got to do.
All right. Am I
that way?
Yeah, that's the Stabbity. That's the original series. So it's same company though. It's through Scout, and we do Stabbity Ever After.
All right. Give me a second.
It'll probably be somewhere in there.
Where's the Kincaid variant?
Yeah, there's I think there's 3. 3 or 4. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the main cover.
And now then the other thing. So this is also, so put this into the timeline for me. So, getting into things around 2005 or so, really kind of progressing through a lot of, the different things, like you said, kind of in a different way, going with more cover work than anything else.
Right.
When does that title kind of fit into things from a timeline standpoint?
So from when I started doing books, it was really slow, and in between, I probably did like maybe 2 covers in a year when I first started out. I was working full time at a bar. I was comfortable. I did covers for fun. I did cons for fun. It wasn't until probably 2010, 2011 that I started doing more work. And not until, when did the first one come out, babe? Were we here already? Did we live here already? Stabbity.
Stabbity or Stabbity Ever After?
Stabbity Ever After.
Here.
Okay, so it wasn't even until 4 years ago when we moved here.
Right.
I went full time. That I just basically jumped ship. I quit my job. We packed up the family. We moved out here, and I started doing comics full time. I started doing so 4 years ago. I did a couple Stabbity Bunny covers, and me and Richard Rivera just got along really well, and came up with the idea of the Stabbity Bunny. And he's like, "Okay, well, do you want to go from you drawing, Aspen covers and Red Sonja, girls in clad bikinis and bloody swords, to this tiny cartoon bunny with a little girl running around?" But yeah, again, I can't say no, so I had to take it, because I also wanted to show, like, I don't have to just draw girls. I rarely get asked to draw guys, and I started off with cartoons, so I was like, let's just put a little bit of that into to show people we can do the entire interiors in a cartoon style.
Ryan, you got some fans and people are saying hi. I like this one. People need a little bit more Stabbity Bunny in their life.
Yeah.
Joshua Stacy says, "What's up?" And I think other people that you may have paid, I don't know. It looks like there might have been money that changed hands. Ryan,
some of these guys, I'm looking at some of the comments. A lot of these guys are the ones that tune in. When my wife and I are live, so they get to see the madness of our live shows. It's basically how we adapted when cons got canceled. Well,
talk a little bit more about that. What did you do? I mean, you have been fairly regular with your live streaming habits, and it's kind of interesting to hear about, man.
Well, you guys had to slow them down because they were too successful, didn't you?
What's that?
You had to slow down doing them. They were too successful. You couldn't pack that.
Yeah. So it started off when cons got started canceling. We kind of already had the idea, like, okay, we need a game plan because this isn't going to stop. And we knew it was only the beginning. And from the gut, it was like, okay, cons are basically going to cancel for the rest of the year. Like, there's that in my mindset when this started. Like, there was no way this was going to happen. So Shannon and I kind of figured out, like, what can we do? I have crazy inventory of my own books. It's how I worked with different retailers was, instead of a crazy pay rate, it was I got a percentage of a print run. So I have a room in here that's literally just short boxes of my own covers. William can tell you how many times I have to buy new short boxes. And we did a live sale where we basically we had a con in our house. Everyone started doing the virtual cons. I'd spent years doing live sales with Clan McDonald Comics, Comics Elite, more than anybody up in Indianapolis. So I built an online presence as it was, and I kind of used that to my advantage when this happened. It was like, okay, well, I know how to sell online, and I know I have a fan base to a point online, so let's try it out. We started doing like mystery boxes to get rid of inventory and commissions and stuff, and the commissions within like 10 minutes, I think we had a pile of 30 commissions. And I love doing commissions, but it gets redundant. You got 27 commissions of just Harley Quinn. So after that, we kind of came up with this little dartboard idea, and I let on Facebook just put a post like, hey, name off some fun characters that people don't normally see me draw. Got a list, made the list, came up with a way we did it. and just, originally we went live on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I would just draw the one. And the first time we did it, someone's like, "Oh, I want to buy it." Somebody else said, "Oh, I want to buy it." I was like, "Okay, well, if we get, X amount of followers on the stream, then I'll auction it." And it just, auction it for a few minutes and it goes to the highest bidder. So it kind of stuck that way. And then it went from drawing one a night to having two a night, to pre-doing two during the day and then drawing one a night, to where now we do, 4 or 5. So Tuesday and Thursday, like during the day, is I got to draw stuff for the auction.
And then the streams themselves you've got going at in the evenings, like around 8 or 8:30. Is that right?
Usually it's around 8, around 8:15, 8:30 Central. We tried to do them earlier, but then it was like my kids were in Taekwondo, so when they couldn't go to class, we were doing Taekwondo in the living room while I was drawing in the kitchen. So as I'm talking to people, you could hear my kids breaking boards and hi-ya! And falling, and somebody hit somebody, and a spear went through the wall.
These things happen.
And then there's dinner time. So then I'd have to either pause for dinner, or people were watching me eat while we're drawing. Which a lot of these guys, you'll see in the comments, probably they'll start talking. They started calling it, what was it, Kincaid Chaos with the Kincaids, or Kincaid Chaos Night. Because we open the door to our house, and you get to hear the cat fights and the kids yelling and the wife screaming at the kids to eat their dinner or go clean their rooms. We don't hide much, but we do it all while we're drawing. And the people, yes, we have people that come on. They're like, "Okay, has Shannon berated anybody yet? Like, has Shannon told anybody to shut up?"
See, I think everybody's behaving here, because I'm getting really nice stuff like this. So I think they're going to either be expecting money or some sort of, minor, like menial labor from you later.
No, I'm going to get crap on the next time I go live. So on Thursday, I'll catch crap. But I can tell you now that if I say not it, that somebody in these comments is going to type not it, and I'm going to owe them something. And you can watch it. It's going to happen.
Just give it a second here, and actually, everybody is. Yeah,
it isn't a night with the Kincaids until berating has happened. See, yeah.
Shannon screams at the kids and dogs. Oh, Billy!
Yeah, and that's my own cousin talking right there.
There it is.
See, there it is.
And there you go.
Randall, I was going to say your neighbors clearly aren't on here tonight.
What's your address? There's another one. There's 3. There's 4. So when I go live, if you remember as a kid when you were playing tag and you said not it, whoever said not it last, you're it. You're the sucker. So we kind of turned it around. If I say not it, if I type not it, if Shannon says not it, the first person to type it, I give them something for free. I'll give them like a signed book. Last week we gave them slabs of Nathan Zerdy's cover. We had T-shirts of Persuasion. So now I owe this guy something if he messages me.
That's awesome, man. It's something different. Everybody has to get creative during now.
Well, I'll see Randall tomorrow. I'm sure he'll be wanting to know when he's getting his special thing from you.
Does he come to the shop?
Yeah, you've seen him there lots of times. He's always
I can only see the name. I can't see the face on it. I'll just bring it to the shop tomorrow. I'll bring him something.
Yep, I'll see. He's usually first person in.
Yep, there he is. So the winner.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll drop something off at the shop that says not it. I actually got covers of Persuasion that say not it on it.
Specifically for that purpose.
Yeah, for that. It's the Hardly Thin. I did instant editions with Marat Michaels, and we did ones of Persuasion, and they have word bubbles, empty word bubbles that the printer was literally printing them on the spot, like whatever quote somebody wanted.
Nice.
There's some interesting quotes.
I bet. So Ryan, what's the best way for people to? What's the best way for people to tune in for your live streams on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
It's all under my Facebook. So if you follow me on Facebook, just message me or something so I can remember to add you.
Right on.
I'll usually post sometime during the day, like this is what we're going to be drawing or this is what we're going to auction off. And then I'll usually post a few minutes before, like, okay, here we go. As I'm never really on time. I mean, wife, kids, dogs, nothing's on time.
This is life. This is how it works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So you touched on it. Let's turn our attention now. Let's talk a little bit about Persuasion. This is your baby. This is kind of a big deal, man. Right?
This was something that I started probably 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I came up with the idea 10 years ago, knowing that I had to draw interiors eventually.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I just thought about doing one way or another. And it really came into fruition when I did that whole interview with Marvel and DC. They told me they needed to see a lot more interior work.
Mm-hmm.
And they send you scripts. Well, one of the scripts they sent me was Ed McGuinness's, Avengers #1, the new run he did.
Mm.
And I have the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having the answers in the back of the book. Like I could go back and look and see, well, how did Ed draw this panel? How did Ed draw this panel? Another one that they'd given me was something from Dampen Ocean, and I had the book. So it was like, no matter what I did, I had all these scripts already drawn. So instead, I talked to a couple people, and Ed McGuinness being one of them, like, hey, should I just do my own? Because I can't do these scripts and not want to look at how you guys did it.
Right.
So I sat down and I did that all backwards though. The first issue, I drew it before, like panel by panel, and wrote the story as I was going. Like I had a beginning, a middle, and an end, but that was it. I had all these little ideas and I was just trying to piece them all together one panel at a time.
Wow.
That is definitely a different process, man.
Yeah, well, I didn't know I could write. I know how to write now, like a book. So the second and third one were easier to do. But so that's how
probably not even all the covers there.
Yeah, it started as turning it in for Marvel and DC, and then once I got halfway drawn, I realized I was just going to get this finished regardless, one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And I started talking to friends about it, and they were all interested in it. And they're like, "Oh, let's do cover. Oh, I'll do a cover. Oh, let's just put it on Kickstarter. Let's do this. Let's do that." Now, Kickstarter, if you've never done one, is the scariest damn thing you've ever done.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's so easy to do. Everybody does it. Everybody gets funded. It's all, it's all hunky dory. It could be a real pain in the
fan base. You're gonna get funded. If you have a fan base, you're gonna get funded. If you have the right people on the covers, you're gonna get funded. That being said, it's still scary as crap, because you watch that little ticker
right
go, and if it doesn't move, you're like, oh God, is this actually not gonna get funded? Like everybody I've talked to has had the same reaction. Like I talked to Billy Tucci, and he's the same way. He was like, yeah, when I did my Kickstarter, I was like, oh crap, is this, am I still relevant to people that do Kickstarter? I'm like, dude, you're Billy Tucci. He's like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the internet people.
You're worried that you'll be the creator that gets humiliated.
You have a ton of work.
Go ahead.
What was that, William?
Well, then once you do get funded, you're like, great, you win. Now you got to do a ton of work.
Yeah. Well, see,
that's the other part.
My first interaction with Kickstarter is watching Polito, which we all know Brian Polito is like the magic man of Kickstarters.
Mm-hmm.
And his advice to me when I asked him about it was, make sure your project is done before you even kickstart it. There's no risk involved anymore. If it gets funded, great. If it doesn't, try again. But if it does, people aren't waiting months for you to be done with. So I've done that with basically every Kickstarter minus the first one. That was a fiasco. I did an art book, and that was just horrible. But for the comic book, I was like, okay, the comic has to be done. Even with issue 2 is going to get released at the end of the month, and we'll go over that. It's done. Like the only thing I'm waiting on now is a few covers, and people still have a week or two before I actually need them because I can put them in like mid-campaign.
So how long have you been planning the Kickstarter for issue 2? I mean, like you said, it's going to be coming out here in about a week or so, right?
My wife's been planning it. She's been planning it for a while now, but we are definitely the ones that are like, okay, we've been working on covers for months with people. So we have all these cool things going on. But when it comes down to the actual Kickstarter, we're like, we've got 2 weeks. Let's throw this together and go.
Do you feel like you kind of have a rhythm for it? After the second one, the first one we don't talk about.
I know what works for us, and I know what doesn't work for me and Shannon. Seeing as most of everything is prepaid for, it's all, we front all the money for it. It kind of takes away the stress of it getting funded to be produced. Like, this is going to be produced regardless. It's more of a Kickstarter can pay my bank account back. Like, we know, artists that sell well, we know price points that sell well, packages that people like. I know people that spend months and months on Kickstarters, or they have teams that can put these magnificent things together.
Right.
I don't know about most of you guys, but I look at most of these Kickstarters off of my phone, so all the images are that big anyways. I just look for the thing that I want and hit pledge. And if people think the way I think, they're really like, okay, I like those 2 covers, so I want tier 5, and they go back and click tier 5 as a reward, and then it's done. So we don't try and put like too much into it. One, that's a lot of work. And 2, I'd rather put a lot of work into the product coming out instead of the advertisement for something that might not.
So let's talk a little bit about the product itself, the story itself and all this. So, I mean, you set off wanting to do one thing, which is to be drawing more interiors and stuff like that. You end up doing that by learning how and figuring out how to be a writer.
Right.
Now, but so you've got the Kickstarter for the second one coming out, but like you said, it's something that's going to be produced. And Persuasion 3 now, you're already started.
Just finished writing Persuasion 3. I had half of it written into 2. The only problem I have with writing is I forget that most books are like 22 to 24 pages, and I end up writing a 36-page book. I'm like, okay, I gotta probably break that down, especially because I'm drawing all the interiors while doing all this other cover work. So do it before I work on Red Sonja number 5 and Killing Sonja and Killing Sonja number 2 and Aspen, relaunch number 1. The Mandy cover, the all the projects with Counterpoint and Marat. So I had to try and slim it down. So where I wanted to end number 2 with, I basically, that's how I'm ending number 3, and I filled in the whole stories in between, which was a little weird, but it worked. And that actually put me ahead to where I've got about 5 pages of number 4 already going. It's kind of like watching a movie, I guess. You get the idea in your head and you just want to jot them down while they're fresh. And I literally sat down for a couple of days and just kept going.
You sat down for a few hours and did it.
My wife.
You spent
I spent an entire day finishing up
on Monday, and you wrote
3.
the whole thing, and that was it. It was done before I got home from work.
It'll get tweaked, but yeah.
Well, you got to tweak it when you draw it.
Yeah. Well, I have to go back to the script and scratch certain things so it goes to the colorist and the letterer, and they don't go, hey, how come these panels are just gone? Like they're missing, but it's not missing in the script. Like, oh yeah, I forgot to cross that out. I drew it a different way.
Or you go back and look at your own script and like, ooh, that's way too hard to draw. Let's change that.
Yeah, well, at that point, I would usually make a phone call to somebody and be like, hey, can you lay this page out for me or this panel out? I've done it for people like Mike DeBalfo has sent me, interiors and be like, hey, what's wrong with this panel? It's like, that just looks awful, man. Do it at a different angle. And I'll do the same thing. I'll panels to Murat Michaels or Tone Rodriguez, and they're like, how about you change this a little bit? Like, switch this version.
So I kind of sense a theme here, kind of the process, learning or getting the opportunity to do covers before you get the chance to do interior art, using the opportunity to do interior art, learning how to write, kind of always kind of going things in a really kind of sideways way to kind of work on your skills, which is really awesome to kind of see, because I think a lot of people think that it just has to be one way to get from point A to point B.
No, there's never one way. It's whatever way works for you.
Mm-hmm.
None of these guys that I know have ever told me the same story. Like nothing's ever worked the same way for anybody, and it never will. It's just what works good for you, what doesn't work. Would you do it that way again if you're going to write something new? Would that be the way you do it, or would you actually sit there and do a larger mapping of the? I would probably get out one of those really large grease boards, like Big Bang Theory, and literally just start circling this, circling that. This goes here.
Red yarn going between stuff.
Yeah, I can do it the Scotty Young way. He's got Post-it notes like all over his whole studio, and he's like, okay, that worked over here, this works over here, this comes here, this goes there. But then I'd probably confuse myself and everybody else trying to read it.
Well, I think that's why people always go to shows and when I talk to artists or writers and like, how do you break in? You're like, everyone's got their own way. You can't, once it's like the path closes behind you, you find your way.
Yeah.
You can't just follow your way. You like everything's different. There's no magic way to get in. You gotta kind of make your own path.
Yeah. The only thing I ever tell people should be the same as the hustle. Like, and make sure that you want it more than the guy right behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, that guy's gonna just jump right over you and take off running.
No, Ryan, thanks so much for being with us. So we want you to definitely stick around because this is the fun part. This is when William gets to show off all sorts of crazy stuff that's going to be coming to the store.
Shopping for when I show up to the store tomorrow.
That's exactly it. I mean, he brings it right to your living room, like the evil genius that he is. And but Ryan, stick around for sure. We'd love to, and we'll talk to you backstage afterwards too, because that's also fun because we get to catch up a little bit. But so William, man, hey, first off, we need to remind everybody of your wonderful establishment. I think down there,
Elite Comics.
Ye Oldie. Down there on Quivira, Overland Park, and on the Book of Faces and the WordPresses and the telephones and all the other things that the kids are using to connect these days.
Everything but Twitter. I do Instagram. I've retired from Twitter.
I would think that you would be an avid Twitter follower. So is that the reason for your Twitter departure?
No, I mean Twitter's just a little too dark for me.
Fair enough.
A little too grim.
Fair enough. So we're giving you a little bit more time this week because you said you got a lot of cool stuff to show off.
Yeah, it's a good week. Let me put my friend down here.
Oh no,
he's had his nap. Yeah, it's a finally kind of a big week of new stuff.
Sweet.
Start off with Middle West, the new issue of Middle West by Kansas City artist and creator Scotty Young.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is really good, and it's rolling up to some big issues with cataclysmic events in here.
Ooh, nice spread.
Yeah, with some alien monsters. This it started off real subtle and real kind of just creepy, and now we're to the big bad stuff.
Yeah, not so subtle and very creepy.
No, yeah, so that's a good one. And then let's see, this is this is number 3. It's not a first issue, but these Star Wars Bounty Hunters is like super hot.
Nice.
And there's 4 or 5 different variant covers for this one, so those will be crazy sought after.
I'm sure those will be.
This is, I think, one of Marvel's #1 books right now. Donnie Cates Thor.
That's a good one.
It's been really good. In fact, I think they've announced that the big Null crossover with Venom is going to come out of this book.
Ooh.
So Null was the big bad villain that Jason Aaron created, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And then it just kind of
team on that book
for a while, and then Donnie Cates jumped on it and kind of brought it back, brought it into the mainstream. Then a new Image #1, that Texas Blood. Image is really helping out with coming out with after the virus, coming out with a lot of new titles, a lot of new stuff to get people interested in. It's kind of a Texas crime stuff, so that'll be a new #1 we got. And there's, of course, 4 or 5 different covers.
Bill, somebody had a question here. It's like, it just blew my mind. I had no idea that Scotty Young lived here.
He does. He lives right down the street from me.
Yeah, not far.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So there's some really. I mean, you mentioned Jason Aaron. I mean, Kansas City's got a pretty robust community of creators here.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Ryan to buy a house off of Null because me and Scotty and Jason live right off Null. So we're trying to get everyone on Null. Immortal Hulk. This book is really, really good, and that is a In-Hyuk Lee zombie cover, so that's going to be the hot cover to get.
Which one of these is the Planet Comicon cover you talked about, William?
I don't have it. That was Art Germ was showing
that's right.
a Comicon cover of something, but it was selling for good money. So I was calling to see if you had any I could score off you, but evidently not.
Yeah, they would have been in Kansas City in March, but
yeah, that would have been that was a good get. And it's issue 8 is not one, but this book is really great. And we have the first volume of the trade too. This Once and Future. This book is really dynamite. It's a kind of a retelling of the King Arthur, but the interior artists.
Which one is that?
The interiors on this thing are
Once and Future, you said?
Yeah, Once and Future.
Yeah.
But yeah, the interior art on this thing is just absolutely dynamite.
It's nice.
And then this is going to be one of the hottest books tomorrow, this Power Rangers 50. Evidently, there's a new introduction of a new Power Ranger in this book. I literally know nothing about the Power Rangers. I was an adult when this came out, so I don't know anything about Power Rangers.
The colors are kind of a big deal.
But this issue is already like blowing up online because there's a surprise first appearance of a new character.
What you're saying is get your shop early.
Say again?
This is what you're saying. Get there early.
Yes, and buy all the covers too.
Always.
I usually do.
And the DC's hottest book, of course, Batman. Coming out twice a month now because it's their #1 book, and they're new characters with Punchline, and Gis is getting ready for the 3 Jokers crossover. There's Punchline, the hottest new thing in DC world.
That's right. We were talking to.
There it is. We get I won't spoil it for you. I'll just show you this page. There's the fight between Harley and Punchline.
Because they have to. They got to do it.
Well, it is comics. It's not that fun to see illustrations of people talking about their problems.
No. A little bit more action oriented.
Yeah, and then this is the big summer crossover for Marvel, the Empire. So that starts tomorrow. Empire #1 with Al Ewing and Pepe Larraz. So this is going to be the big summer crossover book. Which that reminds me, people were asking me today, the kickoff for the Avengers part of this was the Free Comic Book Day book that we did not get to have Free Comic Book Day. So they're going to start shipping us all those books that we were supposed to be giving away. And I guess we're going to have what is going to be called Free Comic Book Summer, where there's 6 books a week that we're going to give away. Instead of one giant day, we'll have a bunch of stuff because a lot of the Free Comic Day books are like lead-ins to current books. So if I save these for Halloween, you'd be like, hey, here's that Empire book for that book you bought 7 months ago.
You know the thing that you were confused on?
Yeah, so that you didn't get the introduction. So we'll start having I think not next week. Next week's kind of a skip week. And then the following week, we'll start having free comics to give away every week.
Awesome.
And then DC, the last big one is they've been doing a lot of these. They had Catwoman, Joker, and then this week is the 80th anniversary Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. And they've actually a lot of times these like anniversary books or annuals or stuff, they don't put, or they used to not put their main people in it, but now they do. This has all their very biggest names, Jeff Johns and Cullen Bunn and Denny O'Neil, and all the biggest names are doing stories in these 80th anniversary books. The Joker one last week had the surprise punchline origin story in it.
So are they like shorter? Like, are they like shorter vignettes? I mean,
yeah, they're like a list of little short stories. You know, you want to see a credit page? That's a credit page for one comic.
Wow. There you go.
That's a lot of folks that worked on this book.
Yeah, man.
But of course, you know, it's 80th anniversary, so there's a cover for each decade, and the regular cover and the blank cover. So for $100, you can get every cover of Green Lantern Anniversary.
Yeah, just get the blanks.
Yeah, and if you're there after Ryan, the blanks will be gone.
I'm bidding on a Green Lantern #1 on eBay right now, and
that's a good book.
I do mean the 1940 version.
Yeah, I figured that's one I wouldn't mind picking up too.
This one's in terrible shape, but
yeah, I wouldn't care. That's one that I would probably buy. I wouldn't care if it was in terrible shape.
Well, if it's in great shape, it's going to cost you some serious dough.
So William, so you got some fun stuff coming into the store tomorrow. You're gonna have a lot to talk about, hang out, and do all that sort of stuff. You said next week's kind of a little bit of an off week. What's the story there?
Yeah, next week it just because of Marvel doing skip weeks of issues and trades, and DC transitioning to these new distributors. It just happened to fall on the same Wednesday of being a bit of a skip week. We'll still get the indie books and the other publishers, but there won't be any Marvel and DC next week. But it'll be an awesome week to start collecting statues.
Statues.
Because you won't have to spend any money on comics. You can start buying statues.
Is this something
that are coming in hot and heavy now? Because when we had the shutdown, the statue distributor didn't ship anything. And man, they call up like, "Are you open again? Can we start shipping again?" And now it's like
they're ready to roll.
Statue. So we're loaded for bear on statues.
Watch William's Instagram account. He always posts pictures of the new statues.
I do. I need to take time. I've got that new Batman Who Laughs Dark Knight statue. It's honestly, it's like 2.5 feet tall. It's got the Batman Who Laughs, and then all the little robins on chains, the little demon robins. This thing is incredible. Oh, yeah, I haven't put it together because it doesn't fit anywhere in the store. The guy came in today and he's looking at I had this Gladiator Hulk statue. I was like, he's like, "Man, I really want that. Can you please buy that? Because if you buy that, I can put this Batman up there."
Don't show it. And
I'm like, I'll be happy to take. I mean, that Gladiator Hulk's like $1,300. I'm happy with the $1,300. What I really want is the space, though.
just to see something new. Something new.
Yeah, give some new stuff to look at.
Well, it's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing the haul for the week and all that stuff. Be sure to visit your local comic purveyor sometime tomorrow, so you can get a first crack at a lot of those titles that William was sharing, or just go hang out with William all day at Elite Comics. Bring your face mask, bring your good disposition, and he will be entertained, and you will be as well.
Everyone's welcome as long as they're wearing a mask.
There you go, man. There you go.
And I keep telling them, they're like, "Oh, I'm not afraid of the virus." I'm like, "The mask's not for you. The mask is to protect me."
There you go. You're the one who has to be there every day.
If I can do it, they can do it.
There you go.
I can't do it.
So, Chris, let's talk a little bit about what we got coming up. We got a holiday week coming, but we still got programming that will be rolling here. This Sunday, we will be having our Cosplay Crafter live stream once again with our good friends at US Toy, Jelly Bean as our host. And this week, we have the other half of the dynamic duo that is from Pros and Cons Cosplay. This week, we are going to, this Sunday, we're going to have Pros with us. And we'll be looking at a lot of different things. I think in terms of what we'll be talking about this next week is getting ready, getting show ready. So packing, selecting outfits, designs, things like that. So it's going to be really kind of interesting with some of these elaborate costumes. I always wonder, how the heck do you get something like that from Kansas City to San Diego?
Well, not only do they have to pack their stuff, they also have to pack all their repair kit.
That's right.
Because everything, if you move across country with that thing, when you open it up, you got to go back to your hotel and put it back together.
Yeah. And Pros and Cons are great. Like I said, they're a Kansas City duo. They have a big hand in what we do every year with the cosplay contest at Planet Comicon Kansas City. A big driving force behind that, and we love having them.
Dixon coming out to help the event.
Always.
And they always show up to help us with the toy drive.
Yeah. Oh, they're amazing women.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. So let's take, and then also next Tuesday, we don't have a guest lined up just yet, but I'm sure, I think everybody is, their thumbs have been working overtime between, eBay bids and what have you. So, but I'm sure we probably will have a guest. If not, we still always have something to talk about. So next Tuesday, June 30th, 7:00 right here, we'll be back here talking comics with Christopher Jackson and William Binderup.
I'm going to plug one thing here. Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, look at it.
That's the littlest one.
Look at that little one.
Oliver Queen.
How cute. I'm going to plug my buddy Mike Broder's GalaxyCon for a moment, because tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, the ladies of Ruby will be doing a 1-hour live panel, followed by some meet and greets that you can purchase. And for that, you can go to galaxycon.com and sign up for the live panel with the ladies of Ruby. Got Lindsay Jones, Aaron Zeck, Kara Eberly, and Barbara Dunkelman. And after the 1-hour live panel at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can purchase some meet and greet. So go to galaxycon.com for that.
That's awesome.
My buddy Mike.
And we had a great time a couple of weeks ago when we had Kara Eberly and Elizabeth Maxwell on. If you haven't seen that hour, it was a lot of fun. You could say, Chris, remember a lot of energy. People were bouncing out of chairs, as I recall.
Yes.
So that's up on our YouTube page. It's also on our Facebook videos, so you can go back and take a look at that one. It's a good time. Just like you can go back and take a look at some of our past Talking Comics, and you'll find out about the ones that we got coming up in the next few weeks. So. Mr. Kincaid, thank you so much for your time tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, good to talk to you as well. And William, we'll see you around the shop, man.
I will be there tomorrow. Bells on. Me and the little
awesome.
Me too.
Bells and hopefully other appropriate attire.
Hey, it's my place. I wear what I want.
Yeah, I need to sell you a set of Iron Fist here.
I just want the 14. I don't need the rest of those.
All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good one.
You too.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.